Whoever said Monstera needs bright indirect light is a liar. Did I say that? Most of your Monsteras need more sun. Direct sun, right in front of your brightest window. It'll stop your plants from dying, the roots rotting, and even prevent fungal infections. But at some point you have to realize just saying give it more light is kind of pointless advice. Maybe you don't have any brighter windows, and maybe you don't want to spend any money on grow lights. Here are the things that you can do to make sure that your low light Monstera is living its best life possible. You are watering too frequently and you need to stop. Let's use this plant as an example.
My aunt does have the tendency to be a little bit heavy-handed with her watering, so that's why I gave her a clear pot so that she can see where the water level was. But as you can see, the soil is still soaking wet, and she watered this a couple days ago. And as you know, soaking wet soil might start to produce leaves that are looking a bit rough. When I said my aunt was a chronic overwaterer, I was serious, and here's the proof. Sorry, Aunt Hyacinth, I hope I'm still your third favorite nephew.
Your soil is holding on to water for way too long. When your soil is soaking wet, the roots don't have any access to oxygen. Wet soil for too long means that the roots are going to rot and die off. You want your soil to dry out much faster so you can add things to it to make it hold less water.
So I've got my three basics: perlite, potting soil, and orchid bark, as well as my new pot size upgrade. So I'm going to start with orchid bark, and I want this mix to be a high percentage of it. Followed by perlite. If you're doing this indoors, wear a dust mask or get the perlite a little bit wet so the dust doesn't fly everywhere. And finally, your basic indoor potting soil. With all these factors, and considering my auntie has a tendency to overwater, I think this should be the perfect soil mix.
Even with an amazing soil mix, you need to know that a plant that's in low light will absorb water from the soil extremely slowly. Way slower than a lot of growers will assume, and so many people just aren't checking to make sure that their soil is dry before they water it again. A lot of people assume that because we can feel that the top 2 inches are dry, the rest of our plant is dry and it's ready for water. That's absolutely not the case. The rest of the plant could still be soaking wet. Sticking your finger in the top 2 inches of soil isn't going to tell you if the bottom of the pot is still wet. So get a long wooden dowel, stick it all the way down to the bottom, wait a bit, and pull it out. Do this a few days to a week later, and if your stick is dry, you're in the clear. Your plant is draining properly. And if somehow your soil is still wet, increasing your light is the best option. And while that's not the best solution for this plant because it's already right up against the brightest window in the entire house, doing something like switching to terracotta or adding more orchid bark to your mix is a great solution too. And I guess she could water her plants less frequently, but you try to tell her that in the comments. I'm not getting involved.